Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. Anne, would you mind going ahead and doing the roll call real quick?
Happy to. First, we have Connecticut Representative Stephen Meskers. Florida Representative Kevin Chambliss. Florida Representative Toby Overdorf. Iowa Representative Brian Lowe's.
Here.
Illinois Representative Rita Mayfield. Indiana Representative Matt Lehman. Kentucky Senator Julie Adams. Kentucky Senator Donald Douglas. Kentucky Representative Erica Hancock. Kentucky Senator Jason Howell.
Here.
Kentucky Representative Mike Meredith.
Yes, ma'am.
Kentucky Representative Sarge Pollock.
Yes.
Louisiana Representative Gabe Ferment.
Here.
And Louisiana Representative Edmund Jordan.
Here.
Massachusetts Representative David LaBeouf.
Here.
Maine Representative Robert Foley.
Here.
Michigan Representative Brenda Carter.
Here.
Michigan Representative Christian Grant. Michigan Senator Lana Tice. Michigan Senator Michael Weber. Minnesota Senator Jeff Howe. Minnesota Senator Paul Utke.
Here.
Mississippi Senator Walter Michel.
Here.
New York Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush. New York Assemblyman Eric DeLon. New York Assemblyman Jarrett Gandolfo. New York Assemblywoman Pam Hunter.
So
New York,
for autos, we can auto draft.
New York Assemblyman David Weprin.
Here.
Ohio Representative Meredith Craig.
Here.
I'm sorry, I missed one here. North Dakota Senator Jerry Klein.
Here.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Ohio Representative Brian Lampton.
Here.
I know you're there. What's this? Ohio Senator George Lang. South Carolina Senator Carl Anderson.
Here.
Texas Representative Tom Oliverson. Utah Representative Jim Dunnigan. Wisconsin Representative Barbara Dietrich. Wisconsin Senator Mary Felskowski.
Here.
West Virginia Delegate Walter Hall.
Present.
And then Vice Chair, Georgia Senator Larry Walker.
Here.
And our Chair, Oklahoma Representative Forrest Bennett. Are there any other committee members that I did not call who are present on the line?
This is State Senator Lana Tice from Michigan. I'm on.
State
Great.
Assembly Member Eric DeLon from New York. I just joined.
Okay, great. I'll get you both checked off there.
You can
Thanks.
ride from State Rep Rita Mayfield's office, Illinois.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee members?
And Ken Blankbush is trying to get on. Can somebody reach out to him and send him the Zoom link, please?
I will try to as soon as I finish roll here. So
Thank you.
All right, other legislators who are on the line. I have Arkansas Representative Richard McGrew. Florida Representative Christine Hunchofsky. Georgia Representative Joseph Gullett. Georgia Representative Sandra Scott. Georgia Representative Darlene Taylor. Iowa Representative Robert Johnson. Iowa Representative Elizabeth Wilson.
Yes.
Idaho Representative Jeff Cornelius. North Dakota Representative Dan Vollmer.
Here.
Oklahoma Representative Ellen Hefner. Oklahoma Senator Mark Mann. Virginia Delegate Michelle Maldonado.
Here on her behalf.
Okay. And Wisconsin Senator Jamie Wall. Are there any other legislators on the line that I did not call?
You may have called me, but I'm the Senator Jeff Howe from Minnesota.
Thank you. All right. So, Mr. Chairman, once again, we do not have a quorum. So we will need to have a motion entertained to waive quorum and move forward with our business today.
I would entertain a motion to waive quorum.
Carl Anderson from South Carolina, I so move.
I see
Second.
Carl Anderson, seconded by someone.
Hunter.
Thank you. Oh, Pam Hunter, thank you. All in favor? Please say
Aye.
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 Does anyone say nay? Great. Well, let's get to the fun stuff then. Good morning, everyone. And I'm told I'm supposed to specifically thank the people on the West Coast because I understand that it's early there. But my dog and cat wake me up at 5:45 every morning, so I don't really feel that much. Anyway, the official record says I'm supposed to thank the people on the West Coast the most. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I know that everyone's got a lot going on, especially legislators at this time, trying to get ready for the next session. So we will try to keep this as quick as possible. We are obviously kind of singularly focused today on the NCOIL model regarding insurers' use of aerial images. And we have had a number of substantive conversations about this model. And I know that there was an effort to work out some final differences after the last in-person meeting. Based on what I've heard from folks in this, they're sort of arrived, everyone's kind of arrived at their position, and then there's not necessarily room for further negotiation. There are a couple things that I want to talk about today that could potentially improve the model in the opinion of at least some folks. So I want to open this up first to the model co-authors, David LaBeouf of Massachusetts and Brian Lambton of Ohio. And after we hear from them, we will certainly open it up to hear from interested parties from industry. And after that, we will hear from any legislators for questions and comments. And when everyone is finished, we will vote on this model. And if there's any further disagreements, you guys can arm wrestle in Atlanta at the fall conference. Does that sound good to everybody? All right, so I want to open this up first to Representative LaBeouf or Assemblyman LaBeouf from Massachusetts. Please go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. So first, I just really want to thank everyone who's worked on this model and provided input, and especially to my colleague, Representative Lambton. We've had a lot of discussion on this over the past year, and it's been a great process to learn from all different perspectives, and hopefully we'll get this across the finish line today. When we left Chicago, there was a really pretty clear consensus that the model was close, but not quite ready for a vote. as there was some discussion that happened probably about less than 10 minutes, 15 minutes right before the committee's meeting about some potential amendments, but there wasn't time for them to be fully developed, to be distributed for that discussion. So it was best that we paused and had this interim meeting to go through this. At this point, we've been discussing this issue for quite a while. So I think most people are aware of what the model's provisions are, but I do want to point out some changes that have been made to the model since our discussion in July. First, we've added section 3, which clarifies that the model is intended to apply to personal insurance and not commercial insurance in excess surplus lines. That's something that we learned more about, and agreed that wasn't the intent of the model, so added that section. Second, there was an amendment discussed in Chicago, but now needs to be formally incorporated to the model in section 5D, which makes it clear that the language to cure the defect should be consistent with the state's existing notice requirements, along with a drafting note to encourage states to amend their non-renewal policies to be longer than 60 days. As we noticed, there are some states that have a 30-day notice requirement. We think that's too short. That's a longer discussion for another day, but we do think that this amendment plus a drafting note is a reasonable compromise. Also, as Chair Bennett mentioned, we have also issued one final amendment to section 5D and E that clarifies that the insurer can use bad repairs as a basis for non-renewal. That's always been the intent of the model throughout the process, but that's just to make it clearer. Lastly, in section 5A, we've added language to make it clear that when the insurer sends the non-renewal notice, they can send either copies of the images or an electronic link. Frankly, I think providing the electronic option has really been in line with the intent a long time, but after the discussion in Chicago, we realized that that should be explicitly stated in the model. And on that specific issue, I know there is some disagreement, and I know Rep. Lampton and I aren't necessarily on the same page of it right now, and there's going to be some language discussed today. But I do want to say that I strongly believe that the consumer needs to be provided with either the copies of the image or the link to them when they receive the non-renewal. This consumer shouldn't have to take this extra step to reach out to insurer and request to get access to the images. It's just an extra needless step that takes up valuable time, especially if you are in a state that has a 30-day notice requirement, and it's a very time-sensitive situation. Also, some of you might have seen there was a news story that happened since our last meeting out of Massachusetts that actually made it to the New York Post. And that insurance company did proactively provide the photos to the consumer for them to identify the issue and to make the repairs before that news investigation took place. Again, from a process standpoint, I understand there is disagreement on this issue, but I want to make it clear that when the committee does vote on this, I personally won't be in a position to vote in favor of the model if it doesn't have the current language, and then will withdraw myself as a sponsor. I just see that that an amendment removing this would negate the intent that I had brought forward, and I will respect the committee's process if that's the amendment they want to adopt. I do feel that this is a reasonable approach towards providing consumers help in what can be a very difficult situation. And
Okay,
again,
thank you.
as you take it back to your states, changes can be made and make sure that it meets the needs of your state's marketplace. I think this is a very solid foundation to address, and it's a really strong consumer protection issue we need to go with. And lastly, I just want to point out that this type of legislation is coming to your states. I'm sponsoring a bill in my legislature, and I know others on this committee are sponsoring similar bills in their own states. Up until this point, I know the response to this has been regulatory levels through bulletins, but it's just a matter of time before this becomes a statutory approach. And I really hope NCOIL will take this opportunity to be a leader on the issue and provide a strong, balanced guidance that will help set a standard. So thanks again for your time, and I hope the committee will support the model today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Buff. I appreciate that. And I just want to make a quick housekeeping note that if you can make sure that your microphone is off if you are not speaking, we would appreciate it. Representative Lampton, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Chair. Want to also thank everyone for their work on this and the conversations that we've been having. As Representative LaBeouf stated, the issue remaining seems to be the requirement surrounding that the images are made available upon request as opposed to upon notice. We did supply some potential language to address that. I know it was sort of last minute. We weren't able to get it forward in Chicago. So that's why we have it before us now. My big thing is the expense that the industry has communicated that would be involved in that image being made available up front. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I promised myself when I got into this thing as an insurance producer that I would not put my name on something that would provide upward pressure on rates. So I'm interested to hear the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lampton. And I'm going to probably follow up on a couple of the comments that you made, but I want to point out that I forgot some notes that I was supposed to explain. Obviously about the amendment, and that is available. The other thing that I want to say, because obviously we're going to have conversations, and there's going to be amendment votes, and there's going to be a vote on the if people move to the vote, that's what we'll do. I did not know this. This is a fun learning experience for everyone, but the NCOIL bylaws say that no more than 4 legislators from any one state may vote on a matter before any one committee. So if a state has more than 4 legislators present at a committee, then the 4 legislators voting would be determined in the following order. First priority goes to chair, vice chair, and ranking member of the committee that oversees insurance matters in their own state. And if that's been exhausted, then members of the committee will have preference in terms of seniority in the legislature. And if both of those have been exhausted, then members will have preference in order of seniority in the legislature, regardless of whether they're on the committee or not. I hope that makes a modicum of sense to folks. It makes sense to me because I'm looking at the words. I think that'll probably only come into play with a couple of states based on attendance for this meeting, but I just wanted to make sure that was explained to everybody. I appreciate, first of all, I appreciate that David and Brian, the Representative Lampton and LaBeouf have worked together on this. How refreshing in this American moment we are in to see 2 folks from different parties working together on something. And just as importantly, how refreshing it is for us to be bickering over something as small and nonpartisan as this versus whatever the hell's going on out there on the streets. So thank you guys both. Before we get to bickering more, I appreciate you guys both engaging genuinely on this. And of course, I feel the same towards folks from the industry. I do want to say, just as a member of this committee, Representative Jordan and I both asked during the meeting this summer to get a better explanation of where those costs are coming from, and to sort of quantify that, because I've heard that a lot, but I have not really been presented with a detailed explanation of how this difference can translate into significant costs. So when folks from the industry chime in on this here in a little bit, if you can provide more information just for the enlightenment of the folks that are going to be taking this vote, I would really appreciate it. My position is similar to that of Representative LaBeouf's, that this really is a consumer protection piece that would oftentimes make the difference between that person having the time to make the repair and not. So from my perspective, cost to get insurance, especially after you've had a non-renewal, is already going to be high for consumers. The ability for them to fix the problem quickly, I think, is a priority. And as legislators, do we not represent individuals? All right. So I just wanted to make those comments. This is going to go the way it always does. If you are interested in speaking, please feel free to use the raise hand function. Ann and I will double team this. Um, and if you want to speak, try to be brief. We've discussed this for several months now, and if there are any new pieces of information or details that you can provide, like I just mentioned, I would appreciate that. But it seems to me that we have largely kind of showed where we're all at on this. So, who would like to speak first from the industry? I see Representative Hunter's hand up already. If you feel like you need to speak before industry does, please let me know, because you are in fact the president, and I'm scared of you.
I'll wait.
Okay.
Don't be scared.
Okay.
I'll wait.
So if I could get hands from the industry, I would appreciate that. The first one that I see is Joe Roth, and then after Joe, we'll have Emily Rogan from United Policyholders. Joe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Joe Roth with APCIA. We appreciate the continued conversations here. I know these have been going on for quite some time and improvements have been made, but APCIA continues to be in a position of having foundational concerns here. Understanding insurers visually inspecting properties to make informed decisions about potential risks, overall conditions of property. This is a well-established practice. And it's a practice where ensuring properties fitting underwriting guidelines and carriers can appropriately price risks. This benefits all consumers. So what we're talking about here is just using a newer technology with the same goals as an in-person inspection, but having the benefits of being more efficient, more cost-effective, and much less intrusive than an in-person inspection. Every insurance company already has underwriting departments and processes to allow for consideration of new and corrected information. It doesn't create the need for new or separate processes. This begs the question, why are we now holding this newer technology to a different standard than any other underwriting tool? And two big points I do want to make about cost, since affordability is top of mind for all of us right now. First, focusing on an image age like 12 months, that's fairly arbitrary, is going to add significant costs to carriers and subsequently consumers. Imaging companies, especially those just entering the market, are going to need more planes. They're going to need more pilots. They're going to need more everything, not to just ensure that these photos are accurate, but to also meet this time frame. This arbitrary threshold has all the potential to stifle competition and restrict market forces that naturally help reduce costs in a competitive marketplace. And the second point I want to point out that I think we've all been talking about here is requiring the insurers to print and mail copies. This is going to have a cost that has to be passed along to consumers. Beyond printing and mailing, they're going to have to develop the technological systems necessary to do this. Even if you're mailing a letter with a URL so the customer can go visit that, it's an entire system that does need to be developed and it does need to be maintained. It's not like you just kind of push it out there and it's going to be forever. These things require care and maintenance. This all comes with a sizable price tag. We don't believe this is the time to be creating policies that put upward pressure on underwriting costs. So based on that, we encourage a no vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. We will hear from Emily next and Paul Martin after Emily. Emily, please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Emily Rogan. I'm the Senior Program Officer for United Policyholders. I work with Amy Bach. And I just want to say thank you first off to Representative LaBouffe and Representative Lampton and to all the committee members here for your work on this model legislation and for taking a look at it and moving it forward. So the Model Act must set reasonable limits on what is currently an unregulated use of aerial imagery in underwriting, but we also want transparency and a process for policyholders to be able to either make repairs or fix errors identified from above. And I think that's the biggest thing, is fixing errors if possible. We've heard from policyholders that the aerial image captured was an error. And while even the proposed amendments to Section 5A add back that requirement that the insurer must tell the policyholder what exactly is out of compliance, and is triggering their non-renewal, the burden still falls on the homeowner to request the photos. And when that happens, it either intentionally or unintentionally runs the clock down for how much time the homeowner has to appeal and or repair the defect in question. But they also have to take that time to shop for replacement coverage as well. So they're doing those three things at the same time: requesting the photos, meeting with vendors to see if they can get someone to go up on their roof and see what the issue is, and having to shop around for coverage. So that just runs the clock down. We need to give homeowners a fighting chance to be able to keep their coverage. And we want to reward property owners who take action and fix the defects to reduce any risk of future damage. Depriving the homeowner of the benefit of the insurer's risk observations about their property defeats the purpose of the model and adds extra steps in place that make an impractical burden on the policyholders, and that'll continue to drive consumer frustration or anger. So the repairs of contracted work, it's already an unplanned expense that the homeowner is going to have to pay. But by removing the incentive for investing time and money into risk reduction property improvements before a loss, it's short-sighted in our current climate. We believe the model should affirmatively require insurers to provide the images to policyholders, along with the specific conditions that triggered the non-renewal and commitments to renew upon completion with that reasonable time frame to complete the work. Otherwise, the model legislation does little more than business as usual, especially for homeowners in states that have less than 60 days notice of non-renewal. So I just want to say thank you so much, and we look forward to working with committee members as this not only gets worked out, but also becomes legislation and laws in your state as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. Please give my best to Amy. Paul, you are next, and after Paul, we will have Wes Bissett.
Thank you, Chairman and members. From the overarching perspective, anytime you put limitations on tools that assist insurers with keeping rates low and coverages available, could result in carriers choosing not to use those tools, which in the day impacts overall affordability and availability of insurance. We cannot control the weather. We cannot control inflation or the cost of building materials or the cost of building labor. So we have to get as much utility out of the tools that we have as possible. And this model, unfortunately, restricts the use of utility of a very valuable tool. I want to speak for a minute on the amendments we received yesterday to 5D and 5E. We obviously, the industry's not had a lot of time to review those, but the good news about those amendments was that it actually forced me to go back and review the entire bill. And it helped me crystallize in my mind what my concerns are about 5E. The amendments to 5D are probably, in a vacuum, they're probably fine. I didn't notice anything that was too concerning there. But we've always been concerned, and we've registered this concern in multiple meetings now, about the language where it says in 5E, the reason unrelated to the defects conditions noted in the non-renewal. There are a couple of concerns here. And the first concern is, if you go back to the very first line in what is now Section 5, it says, when utilizing aerial images as part of the coverage determination, an insurer shall. That as part is really critical here, because when you use aerial imaging in conjunction with non-aerial imaging data, which a lot of insurance companies do, they'll take aerial imaging plus data from other sources, and that's how they arrive at their non-renewal decision. If you use aerial imaging as part of the decision, then all of Section 5 applies to non-renewal decision, even those things that came from information not related or comes from the aerial image. So for example, if you have an aerial image that shows the roof is in bad shape And then as you investigate, you learn the policyholders had several non-weather related claims. Or if the image shows there's a trampoline and the agent learns that the property is vacant for large periods of time. Or the image shows that there's trees overgrowing the roof. And further investigation finds out that there's an on-site daycare facility being run. Now, all those things in the image are fixable. You can remedy all those things pretty easily. But if you apply the as part provision to this, and you have to because the words on the paper and the words in the statute mean something, then you wouldn't be able to use the other things you found in the investigation because you used aerial imaging as part of the underwriting decision. That's the first concern. The second concern is in situations where things are identified in the aerial image that unfortunately are just not curable by the policyholder. And this really comes up in the wildfire context where I live in Austin, I live next door to Municipal Park. If the city of Austin does a poor job managing the WUI where I live in the park, then the image may show that, hey, Paul's now in the WUI. It's not being managed well, but Paul cannot go into the park and legally manage that around his house. So there are situations where underwriting guidelines to provide coverage for those people in WUIs where the company has to say we have to have defensible space. If the policyholder can't do anything about it, we can't then use the underwriting tools available to us because of what 5E says now. We think 5E, going back to Representative Lampton's concerns about cost drivers, 5E probably presents a pretty significant litigation risk to the industry because you've got to navigate, if you're a company, you've got to navigate how you're going to use data points that do not come from aerial images because of that as part language at the beginning of Section 5. Now, Joe talked about the costs. To be clear, we think the costs are primarily upfront, but they are significant. And to be totally transparent, we have asked our members. It has been a struggle to come up with an exact dollar amount, but we are told it is significant. And I know I had some conversations with Representative Jordan after the meeting in Chicago on this. We've asked, we're told it's very challenging to calculate, but I will also say that 5A remains the main concern, is this additional cost. And I will conclude by saying is that at the end of the day, this bill does nothing to improve affordability of insurance for homeowners. It does nothing. All it does is add cost. We're not opposed to providing the images, provided we provide the image in a cost-effective way. And that, Chairman, I will close. Good luck to your Sooners on Saturday against Kent State.
Thank you. That's the kind of good luck that felt, honestly, maybe a little bit passive aggressive. So if we lose to Kent State, Paul, I'm coming for you.
It's as you know, Chairman, it was games like that. Nothing against Kent State. If you win, everybody expects you to win. If you lose, then you get made fun of. So good luck.
Okay. See that? Yep. Sounded even more passive aggressive. Would you mind? So one question that I have, and I just using my immense power as a chair to butt in here.
Sure.
The idea of an additional cost being mitigated if the photos are only provided by request. How is there a difference in cost there? I mean, because it feels to me like that means that there's a million little one-offs as opposed to one system, which I understand up front may require some build out of a process, but then you've got that process. And I would point out, that there was a build out associated with using aerial imaging, which I'm sure was a capital cost up front, but smoothed out over time because you now have this equipment and you have this more accessible way to see what the damages might be. So could you maybe briefly explain
Sure.
that?
Yeah. So right now, Chairman, many companies produce those images on request now. The system is already set up for a lot of companies to produce those images now. There is no additional cost as it is now to produce those images. I mean, there may be some in terms of getting it within a time frame. And by the way, we created language and provided it to this committee back in June of how we would suggest to remedy that situation where you have a time frame whereby when the consumer asks for it, the images are produced. Companies are already doing this now, number one. Number two, what we're finding, Chairman, and I will tell you, it's been like, on this issue, it's been like peeling back the onion. I've learned more about how this works over the last 90 days than I ever thought I would ever know, is that right now, there's not a lot of demand for the images. Most people do not ask for the image. We suspect that's because that when the image comes out, it shows the roof's in bad shape. You're not telling the consumer anything they don't already know. Now, in those situations where the consumer wants to dispute the image, of course, there needs to be a mechanism by which the consumer contacts the insurance company and says, hey, I don't think that's right. I need to see the image because maybe I just put the new roof on and maybe it just went on 6 weeks ago. There needs to be a mechanism for that. As we said back in Chicago, and we've said on more than one occasion, insurance companies are in the business of retaining customers. There's a cost associated with losing a customer and going and finding a replacement customer. We want that consumer to fix the problem, whether it's getting rid of the trampoline or the diving board in their pool or putting on a new roof, whatever the thing is. You want to keep that customer. But at the same time, if only a few people are asking for the image, we think it's more cost effective to create a system by which, and put it in statute, that if a consumer asks for that image, they get it using existing software programming as it is now.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. All right, Wes, let's hear your cheerful input.
I don't know about that, but I'll offer some input nevertheless. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Wes Bissett, and I represent the Independent Insurance Agents and Brokers of America. We support the proposal. I was a little surprised to hear so much concern expressed by my insurance company counterparts, because this is a very narrow proposal at the end of the day. It's been suggested that this proposal would somehow restrict the ability to use aerial images, and it really doesn't do that. It only establishes a relatively narrow set of requirements that would apply in the event that an insurer uses an aerial image to non-renew somebody. Doesn't say how an aerial image can be used, doesn't prohibit aerial images from being used at all. It's in no way a referendum on the ability of insurers to use aerial images. There is no doubt, no question, nobody's challenging the fact that aerial imagery provides benefits and efficiencies to the industry. If you support this proposal today, you're not challenging that in any way. You're just voting to establish some consumer protections that would apply, and hopefully the rare event that an image is used to cut off someone's insurance coverage. And the reason why this is a timely and important issue, despite all the benefits associated with aerial imagery, is because its rollout in recent years has not been perfect. It has not been great. There have been too many instances where the images are inaccurate. Insurers will look to images of the wrong home. They will come up with faulty conclusions, sometimes based on the use of AI, that doesn't reflect the reality of the situation. And so there's no protections that apply at the moment. And for that reason, that's why about a dozen state insurance departments have tried, given their limited regulatory authority, to try to act in this area. But what we need is a legislative based response, so that we can have a thoughtfully crafted model, so that we can have some interstate consistency among the states. This bill, well, one, I would say, there's been the assertion made that this doesn't address affordability. I think, the use of aerial images overall does help aid affordability. But think about what we're really trying to do here is ensure that someone who actually in reality meets the underwriting standards of an insurance company does not lose their coverage. It is very disruptive and scary, frankly, in today's environment if you lose your homeowner's coverage. It puts into motion a series of events that no one wants to be in the middle of. So the way we look at it is there are 4 core common sense elements to this proposal. It addresses the age of the images. It says they can't be more than 12 months or 12 months old, which is the industry standard we've heard in earlier meetings. It creates the ability for policyholders to access their images, which again is common sense. It gives the consumer the ability to make sure it's the image actually of their house, that it's the correct image, that there hasn't been some sort of faulty conclusion that has been reached. It was mentioned a moment ago that there aren't many requests for images, which is not at all shocking, because if you're non-renewed, there might not be any mention at all that an aerial image was used or of your ability to get access to that image. So the fact that few people are asking about that today is really not surprising. And then third, there's the ability created in this model to challenge the assertion of the insured, just to push back and say, well, wait a second, this is a roof that was, put on 6 months ago, or that's a cloud shadow and not an issue with my shingles. And then fourth, there's a limited, and I stress limited, ability in the model to address and remedy the problem that is asserted in the image. It's not, it's not an absolute ability to do that, and maybe it's not crafted perfectly, but it gives the consumer at least a limited window of time to try to fix that problem. So, given the need for a model in this area, given the need that states are beginning to act, we urge you to move forward with this model. Even if you don't intend to bring it back to your state, we'd urge you to support it. Even if there'd be things in this model that you would tweak and perhaps do a little bit differently, we would urge you to move forward, because there are states that are looking for guidance in this area, and it's important for NCOIL to provide that. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate that. All right. I haven't seen anybody else from the industry wanting to speak. We have 3 legislators who have identified that they would like to talk. Full disclosure, we're at 10:44 right now. I would love to have the votes done by 11 a.m. So if my legislators can be succinct with their comments, I would appreciate it. First up is President Pam Hunter.
Morning, thank you. I'd like to thank the sponsors of this bill. I think it's important and timely. I just have a couple thoughts. I do support the model, and I do support the amendments as well. And I encourage all of my legislative colleagues to support as well. I think the last comment was very telling, that these are models. You can tweak it for your state, but this is a foundation for us to go forward. We have had comprehensive, extensive conversations about this. But listening to some of the comments, I do think it's important, because there were mentions of not that many people are asking for the aerial photographs. And it just causes me to ask a question of how many non-renewals are there out there, that this seems to be like such a cost prohibitive thing to send someone either a link or a copy of the pictures if there are not that many non-renewals. Also, it doesn't seem like we want to keep policyholders if we're finding ways to drop policyholders. And we want to be able to, in this climate, especially when we talk about affordability and availability, maybe this doesn't speak to affordability today, but I think it's important for people to have comfort knowing that the carrier that they've been using for a year or 10 is not going to just drop them, but have a conversation with them. And it seems like sending you a letter, not having a conversation with you, not sending you any information, you having to, make sure that you ask for a picture, doesn't seem like a customer-oriented situation. Also, we do represent individuals and companies as well, and this is where we have to find the balance to make sure businesses are our constituents as well. We want to make sure that they're solvent and doing everything that they need to do to provide services in our communities, but we have to make sure we strike a right balance. And that goes into, this is new technology. It's not required. You don't have to do this as you're a carrier. You don't have to use it. But if it's new technology, why not start with a safeguard? And then if it's working and you're not getting a lot of concerns or pushback relative to the images, then it can transition to what your current standard is. But in this world of AI, we see everything every day on computers, on our phones. These pictures aren't real, and people are taking them as gospel. We need to take a step back and have some safeguards. Also, just the last couple of points. I don't necessarily agree that aerial imaging is less intrusive than an actual person going to your house. Ask the neighbors who watch a drone floating over their property and wondering, is it for me? Is it for them? I don't necessarily agree with that. And to my last point again that I mentioned, the requirement to use aerial imaging. I don't know if this is one of those check out, yourself at the grocery store because we don't have enough employees to, do the bagging and checking out yourself. But we need not be going down that road. We need to have an integration of forward-thinking technology and customer service now more than ever before. I was just at a conference this past week in Boston for an insurance conference. Some of the people are just not, who own their homes, are not paying for insurance. They just aren't renewing their policy. That's a pretty scary situation when most people don't have enough money day to day, paycheck to paycheck, to just say, I can't afford homeowners insurance, and just hoping their house isn't burned down or some other catastrophic issue happen. That's what you're paying insurance for. That's what you're paying into the pool. Let's not make this perfect be the enemy of the good. And I support everyone. I support this, and I'm asking for others to support as well. Thank you.
I muted myself. I'm so proud of myself. Thank you, Pam. Edmund, you're next.
Thank you, Forrest. First of all, I do want to say I think this is a good compromise, and we should support this bill. However, I will say in listening, and maybe I didn't hear it correctly, so maybe between Paul and Joe they can help me. I think at least what I heard when you spoke to Paul said that the companies already have these images and have the platform built, but as far as I'm sorry. I thought I heard an echo. But anyway, and had this platform built out. But to send the pictures might create some extra costs, some significant costs, although it's difficult to calculate. And then when I heard Joe talking, it seemed as if they would have to build these platforms out and that they didn't have even for the storage. So that just seems to be somewhat contradictory. I guess my major frustration though is, look, I've read the comments, I've looked at the model. I think that, again, this is a good compromise, but we keep talking about this cost being significant, but nobody can calculate the cost. And I can tell you, Chicago was several months ago. Speaking for myself, I don't know if Representative Bennett had a different experience, but I did not get a call back or an email or anything even related to the issue. And so I just find it somewhat disingenuous to now come back and say that these costs are significant when nobody really can calculate them. So again, I'm of the opinion that if we're providing a link and you don't have to provide the actual photos, I think that's a good measure. I think that people should have an idea of what they need to improve on their property so that they can be renewed. And so I don't really see what the big deal is about the images being provided via some sort of link. So again, I know you wanted me to be brief. I support the model as is, and I hope everyone else does as well.
I appreciate that, Representative Jordan. Thank you so much. Next is Lana, and I want to let folks know that Matt Lehman will be after. And Mary Felskowski, if she still wants it. Yeah, sorry, Lana Felskowski, and then Matt Lehman. Lana, please go ahead.
Thank you, Forrest, and thank you for everybody for presenting today and the discussion. I certainly appreciate it, and I understand the desire behind it. I have significant concerns that this will have an upward pressure on the costs. And to Assemblywoman Hunter, I agree with you. We need to make sure that we make it as affordable as possible so that people do insure their homes. But if what we're doing is more regulation that may or may not be necessary, I don't think we've meted that out yet. That could increase costs. I think we have to be serious about thinking about that. The other question that I have, and I'm sorry if this is a stupid question, but the vast majority of the businesses that I interact with have a right to do business with me or not. And if I'm insured with them, obviously they have to pay a claim, but do they have an obligation then to maintain insurance in perpetuity, or do they have the right to see my home as too much of a risk for the premium that they can take? If they see that and we don't let them non-renew, then the cost is going to go up for everybody because the risk has gone up. So again, I appreciate the desire for consumer protection. I absolutely want to support that. I don't think this is ready yet, and I don't think mandating that we provide information that's not been asked for to everybody is helpful. I also have issues with the 12-month limitation on it. I have in my state the UP. It's got a few houses and a whole lot of land, and there are going to be occasionally third-party planes that will fly over to take pictures, but for the most part, those are going to have to be individually hired, and that's going to increase costs. That's something they do industry-wide right now every 2 years. If you can provide your own photographic evidence to decline or to disprove whatever it is they're doing, you have that opportunity, but I don't want to mandate something, again, that's going to push up on the costs. So as is currently written, I'm a no. Would very much love the opportunity to discuss this further, however. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Lana. Representative Felskowski, or sorry, Senator Felskowski, you're next.
So I would agree with Lana on a lot of this, but I do have a question. So one of the concerns is the turnaround time of getting the aerial images. I don't think I share that concern, but I would like to ask the question to industry. So if I get this notice of non-renewal, I send an email to the company asking for the photos. I mean, what is the turnaround time to get those photos? Am I getting those within 4 or 5 days? And then I would ask people in practicality, if let's say that I have curling shingles or I have missing shingles, I want you to think at a practical standpoint. Can you get your roof redone in 60 days, people? Just to think about that. Then the other question I have, and I think this is a real concern that was brought to us. Let's say I get that where, you know, as an agent, I'm notified that somebody's going to be non-renewed for the aerial photos, but I've already called my underwriter and said, hey, look, I just found out that my homeowner is open to daycare in their house. And that goes against all underwriting guidelines. I'm notified of them of that, and they're going to issue a non-renewal. So now they can't issue that non-renewal because of the aerial imaging that they've done. So I would like to know if there's openings to a tweak in that language, that the only time that this is if that the non-renewal is solely due to the imaging, the aerial imaging. Because there could be other factors. They have a trampoline. Maybe they have a car, you know, they have liability exposures that they now have around their home, or other hazards, or they have peeling, you know, there's just no maintenance there. You're putting that company into the position of accepting risks that, number one, don't meet their underwriting guidelines, they're not charging for, and that's driving up the cost and, you know, their claims. So I can't support this bill as it stands because I don't think that you vetted it out from the actual actuarial standpoint or from the insurance standpoint. If they're using that aerial image solely as a cause for non-renewal, it's a whole lot different than a multi-factor approach to why they're non-renewing that policy.
Thank you, Senator. We will have Representative Ferment next, and then Lehman. At this point, I can't let anybody else in because we are getting close to that 11 o'clock time. So please, welcome to comment and be succinct, please.
Sure, be as brief as possible. And look, I believe the Louisiana law that we passed in 2024 sort of prompted this conversation with the NCOIL model. And you know, just a couple of comments I want to make is, you know, the specific problem we were addressing is when aerial images were the only thing being used to make a non-renewal decision. And so it is a little concerning to me that you know, now the language that says if aerial images are used in part, so we've got more restrictive regulations, more burdensome regulations when we use aerial images in conjunction with maybe an in-person inspection than if we did an in-person inspection on its own. And so there's now if we do an in-person inspection, there's no requirement to provide photos. There's no requirement to provide the homeowner with time to correct the defect. So it just seems to me like this should be part of a bigger discussion. I would just hate to see us use this aerial image conversation as a backdoor to accomplish some other policies around underwriting and things of that nature. So just to me, and the idea that this is not going to create some additional cost. I can tell you, in a place like South Louisiana where small insurance companies are such a big part of the solution, I can see them completely foregoing aerial inspections and doing in-person inspections on every policy. That's certainly going to increase the cost for them. And so for a tumultuous market like we've got in South Louisiana, very concerning for me.
Thank you, Representative. We will now hear from Representative Lehman, and then we'll go to closing comments from LaBeouf and Lambton. So you all be thinking about what you want to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. I'm going to kind of go back to a 30,000-foot view here for a second. I've been on NCOIL for many years, and I've heard a lot about it's just not right. It's not perfect yet. I've never taken an NCOIL model back to my state and adopted it verbatim. You've got to make this fit your state. We keep talking about the bill. It is a model. Take this as it is. It is a model. What works in your state might not work somewhere else. I think we're 95% of this is good. We're hung up on this issue of when you should or should not give someone the data. We live in a data world. We've had the transparency model a couple of years ago that dealt with how are we telling our clients, our insurance clients, what they're paying for and why. And I think this is just another piece of that puzzle. I think this model is a good model, not a great model. I think there's going to be some nuances that need to change. I think the part of is a Scribner's note. I think we can change that when we're in Atlanta. Those are things I just don't think I want to get hung up on this. So I do think it is a good model, not a great model. And I'd ask for your support today.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Representative Lehman. Sorry. All right. I want to hear closing remarks from Representative LaBeouf, followed by Representative Lambton, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Great. Thank you, Mr. And I won't belabor the points that were already made, but I think this is something, and Brian, please tell me if you agree with me, because I think we're on the same page on this. The concerns, it is more of a Scribner's note, as Rep. Lehman said. I think we are both on the same page that we're not trying to add other ways to deny underwriting. That's not what it is. It's about, focusing on the aerial image. That argument that was brought up was not something that was brought to our attention as clearly earlier. And that is more of a Scribner's note, not trying to do anything else, that the bill isn't just focused on aerial images.
Thank you. Is that what you've got, Representative LaBeouf?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to belabor any points. I think we're ready for a vote, and I hope you support it. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lambton.
Once again, thanks everyone for their input and their discussion. I agree with the senator and the comment about the way it's worded could prevent carriers from non-renewing for other non-aerial image reasons in conjunction with it. And so without the amendment to fix that part of it, I'm going to have to oppose it at this time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Representative Lambton. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is take up that amendment. And it does sound like there may be a lot of consternation around the word solely. And if I understand correctly, that is, if it is indeed a technical change, is something that can be addressed in executive committee if this legislation is moved today. And I just want to reiterate what Pam and Matt said, which is that this is model legislation, and we in Oklahoma have never adopted NCOIL language verbatim either. And it does sound like there are plenty of opportunities for the industry and legislators to engage on this issue across the state or across the country. So with that, I want to know if there is a motion to take up for a vote the amendments addressing sections 5D and 5E that were discussed earlier.
I'd like to make the motion to adopt the model and its amendments.
Okay, a motion has been made to adopt the model and its amendments. Do I have?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, sorry, it would just be first, just to adopt the amendments.
I
Okay,
would like to make a motion to adopt the amendments.
there's a motion to adopt the amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, all those opposed on three, or say nay. 1, 2, 3.
Nay.
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 Nobody got the on three thing. All right. It sounds to me like Anne, you may need to do a roll call vote for this.
Okay, before we go and do the roll call vote, are there any other legislators on the committee who came on after we called the roll?
Yes, Jim Dunnigan from Utah.
Okay, I've got you.
Mike Clifford, Oklahoma.
From Georgia.
Blankenbush from New York.
Got Graham from Michigan. I've got Blankenbush from New York.
Oliverson from Texas.
I have you, yes.
Representative Viola Davis from Georgia.
I got Adams, and I'm hearing someone from Georgia, but I don't have you on the committee. Let's see. Was that Carolyn? Representative Hugley?
That was
Georgia?
Representative Viola Davis,
Viola Davis.
not a member of the committee. We did also have Kentucky Senator Julie Adams.
I have
who
Julie
is a
Adams.
committee member.
Yep, Mark Tedford, Oklahoma.
Okay. I'm just going to take 1
You
second.
have
here.
Representative Sandra Scott from Georgia.
Yes,
Okay.
I do have you. Thank you. Let's see. And okay, so we will now proceed with the roll call vote, attempting to be the people who are here. I realize we tried to keep track of those who left, but realize it might not be perfect. So,
Mr. Chairman, will you restate the motion, please?
yes.
The motion is to adopt the amendments addressing sections 5D and E that were discussed earlier.
Thank you.
All right. First, I have Iowa Representative Brian Lowe's.
Aye.
Aye. Indiana Representative Matt Lehman.
Aye.
Kentucky Senator Julie Adams.
No.
Okay. Kentucky Senator Jason Howell.
No.
Kentucky Representative Mike Meredith.
No.
Oh. Kentucky Representative Sarge Pollock.
Oh.
Louisiana Representative Gabe Furman.
No.
Louisiana Representative Edmund Jordan.
Aye.
Massachusetts Representative David LaBeouf.
Aye.
Maine Representative Robert Foley.
No.
Michigan Representative Christian Grant.
Aye.
Michigan Senator Lana Tice.
No.
Minnesota Senator Jeff Howe.
Aye.
Minnesota Senator Paul Utke.
Aye.
Mississippi Senator Walter Michel. New York Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush.
No.
New York Assemblyman Eric DeLon.
Yes.
New York Assemblywoman Pamela Hunter.
Yes.
New York Assemblyman David Weprin,
Aye.
Ohio Representative Meredith Craig,
No.
Ohio Representative Brian Lampton,
No.
Texas Representative Tom Alderson,
Aye.
Utah Representative Jim Dunnigan,
Aye.
Wisconsin Senator Mary Felskowski.
No.
No. West Virginia Delegate Walter Hall.
Aye.
And I apologize, I skipped over two of you, so I'm going to go back up the roll. I believe you're both still here. North Dakota Senator Jerry Klein.
Aye.
Aye. And South Carolina Representative Carl Anderson.
No.
No. Okay. Are there any other committee members present that I did not call?
Did you call me, Senator Walker?
We have not called you yet, sir. I will
Okay.
call you now. So our committee co-chair, Senator Larry Walker from Georgia,
No.
and Chair Oklahoma Representative Forrest Bennett.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. My count is 15 aye votes. If someone else has a
I haven't
number,
voted. Mark Tedford, Oklahoma.
I'm sorry,
Vote no.
Tedford, Oklahoma. Okay.
Sorry, Representative Tedford, we don't have you marked as a member of the PNC committee.
Okay.
Okay, Representative Sandra Scott, I guess, I don't know. Am I a member of the committee?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Sign up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I'm trying to.
13. I have, Will, you might back me up and see, because your counting is usually better than mine. I have 15 aye votes and 13 no votes.
You're correct.
That's what I had as well.
I'm right? You're kidding me. Okay. Let's just take a moment. Okay.
Okay. Is that everyone who can vote?
Yes.
Okay. With 13 no votes and 15 aye votes, I see the amendments have been adopted. We will now move on to a vote on the model itself. Do I have a motion to adopt the model as amended?
Motion.
I second.
A motion and a second. Okay. I'm just going to go straight to a roll call vote on this because no one
Okay.
can cooperate on the 1, 2, 3, to be honest with you.
Well, unless you're asking about attendance, then everyone can speak at the same time. I find that's really helpful. Okay. So did you need to have the motion restated, anyone? This is for the adoption of the model bill as amended.
It was moved and seconded, moved by
Yes.
Hunter and
So we don't need to state it again. Okay, good. Our first we have Iowa Representative Brian Lowe's.
Aye.
Aye. Now we have Indiana Representative Matt Lehman.
Yes.
Senator Julie Adams from Kentucky. We may have,
No.
no. Senator Jason Howell from Kentucky.
No.
Kentucky Representative Mike Meredith.
No.
Kentucky Representative Sarge Pollock.
No.
Louisiana Representative Gabe Ferment.
No.
Louisiana Representative Edmund Jordan.
Yes.
Massachusetts Representative David LaBeouf.
Yes.
Maine Representative Robert Foley,
No.
Michigan Representative Christian Grant,
Yes.
Michigan Senator Lana Tice,
No.
Michigan Senator Minnesota Senator Jeff Howe,
Aye.
Minnesota Senator Paul Ecke,
Aye.
Mississippi Senator Walter Michel, New York Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush,
No.
New York Assemblyman Eric DeLon,
Yes.
New York Assemblywoman Pamela Hunter,
Yes.
New York Assemblyman David Weprin,
Yes.
North Dakota Senator Jerry Klein,
No.
Ohio Representative Meredith Craig,
No.
Ohio Representative Brian Lampton,
No.
Texas Representative Tom Oliverson.
Aye.
And I'm sorry, once again, I skipped you, Representative Anderson, South Carolina Representative Carl Anderson,
No.
no. Utah Representative Jim Dunnigan,
No.
Wisconsin Senator Mary Felskowski,
No.
and West Virginia Delegate Walter Hall.
Yes.
Okay, just give me a second here.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, apologies to Oklahoma Representative Mark Tedford. He is a member of the committee. So that would just change the vote on the amendments that were adopted from 15 to 15 yes, 14 no. And if he would like to register his vote now on the model as amended. Apologies.
Representative Tedford? Okay. There's. Let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And eyes. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Fifteen, 16, 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And Mark
Yes.
is getting back on the call now.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had apologized to you for not having you listed as being on the committee, recorded your vote on the amendments, and asked if you would like to place a vote on the model bill now as well.
He just told me that he was getting back on. I'm not sure if he is
Oh,
actually.
oh, okay. Sorry. Well, my count right now is 12 ayes to 14 noes, which doesn't make sense because that's fewer votes than we had before. So I'm going through again. Will, did you have a count on this? No.
I was counting along with you. That was my count also, 12,
That's your
4,
count.
and 14 against.
I'm so glad you were counting along with me, and I can't believe I would actually. So should we wait for Senator Tedford to come back on?
He said he was going to. I don't.
I don't, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe Vice Chair Walker or you as chair were called, so that might explain
Oh, that's
the.
true. Oh, that's right. Okay, so let me ask you all. Georgia Senator Larry Walker.
No.
No, okay. And Oklahoma Representative Horace Bennett.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That puts us at
That puts us
15-13,
to
just the other way
13
around.
to 15, right?
Correct.
Chairman Bennett, I'm back on.
Ah,
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
did you want to place a vote on the bill as amended?
Yes, no.
No, okay. So that puts us at, I believe, 16 noes to 12 yeses,
I have 16 no's to 13 yeses.
13 yeses.
All right.
So the motion does not carry.
That's right. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's input on this. It's a bummer to me that this didn't make it all the way, but I appreciate all the input that folks provided. Real poetic justice that Mark, who should be our insurance chairman back home, got to get on at the last minute. Crash my dreams. I'll see you this afternoon, Mark.
All right.
Folks, I appreciate everyone's attendance today. I know this went a little bit longer than it was supposed to, but sometimes making law takes some time. There is still a hand up from Representative Hunter or Assemblywoman Hunter. I don't know if you intended to want to speak anymore.
Nope, sorry.
No problem. All right, everybody. I will hopefully see many of you in Atlanta, and I'll be nice to the ones that agreed with me, and I'll be mean to the ones that didn't. It's pretty straightforward. So, thank you, everybody. Is there any other business that anyone needs to present?
I move that we adjourn.
I hear a motion to adjourn. We won't go to a roll call on this. Is there a second?
Second.
That was a bipartisan second, and I love that. All right. All those in favor of getting out of here?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm going to say nay just because I'm going to miss you all. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.